Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there, and welcome to the program. July 13th, be the date, 2023. I think I'll start off with just some little stuff that struck me. I happened to see that the jury in the Bowers trial, the man who slaughtered all those good people at Tree of Life synagogue, is now determining whether or not he is eligible for the death penalty. And I happened to find it, read that the defense, his attorneys, were doing the only thing they can do, arguing that he's nuts. And as a crazy person has no ability to understand, comprehend what it is he's doing, and cannot, like a normal person, intend to commit this atrocity. And just reading the, I think this is from WESA reporting. It said this: Bowers' lawyers say that he suffers from a mental illness, schizophrenia, of which a defining feature is that beliefs are resistant to change. Now, they brought that up, resistance to change, because the prosecution noted that he hasn't in any way, since the commission of this mass murder, suggested he had any remorse, any regrets. And in fact, well, that's not true. He had a regret. He wanted to kill more. And he has not ever said anything other than that. So in his defense, his attorneys are saying that, well, he's schizophrenic. And one of the things of schizophrenia or phrenia is that you are resistant to changing your mind. So that would account for why he's unable to say now that, he's really sorry. He hadn't meant to do it. He was the devil made me do it thing. And there was something about this that struck me as so ludicrous. I mean, of course, but because stop and think. A defining feature of schizophrenia is resistance to changing your beliefs. Can you see why I might be laughing at that? Because, I mean, resistance to changing beliefs is, I would say, something that we can see in, I hate to say it, but perhaps a majority of Americans, a whole heck of them, and they ain't schizophrenic. And I'm not saying I'm just right-wingers, left-wingers too, people of faith. I mean, there are people who, yes, resistant to even, entertaining changing one's belief, because one's beliefs are what anchors a person, gives them a sense of, a ridiculous sense of somehow understanding what the hell is going on in the world. But we all, at least I think almost all of us, do have some construct that helps us, make it through. But if if a defining feature of schizophrenia is the resistance to changing one's beliefs, then our entire country is stark raving mad. I feel for this jury. For one thing, I mean, they're being asked to evaluate the testimony of doctors, psychiatrists, people who spent years and years studying exactly this kind of thing. And the jurors, they never spent time studying that kind of thing. And now it falls to them to decide which doctors, the prosecution's doctors or the defense doctors, should be believed. I feel for them. It's sort of like the position a lot of us end up in when going to a doctor these days, where you're given possibilities. Well, you could, we could do surgery in which this, and that happens, or we could do this in which that, and this happens. The results are generally unknown, but we can say this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then you have to figure it out. So I feel for him. The other thing is, and I guess I hadn't, this must have broken when I just started my vacation. And it was this unbelievable case, the Supreme Court decision, which again, we knew would fall the way it did, 6-3, that said essentially that if you are a business owner, you can discriminate against gay people if the very idea of gayness offends your religious beliefs. I mean, that's essential. If I understood what they said, that's pretty much it. You know, used to be, was way back in the civil rights era when the Supreme Court essentially said, hey, if you own a business and you're out there in the public sphere, you can't refuse to service or sell to this group or that person or this group because you got a problem with them. You can't. Remember that? And that's how we've been living with that as a given for at least the last, 40 years? I mean, if a gay person goes into a hotel, a gay couple, and they want a room for the night, the hotel clerk can't say, well, I'm against your lifestyle. It offends my Christian sensibilities, and I simply cannot give you a room. But all of a sudden, in this case, the justices go the other way. And it really is breathtaking, especially the more you learn about this case, is that it's based on total fabrication. The woman who brought the case, who said she was, I believe, thinking about doing websites for organizations and people. And she was concerned that a gay person would want to have her do their website. And she brought this case. Actually, her name is Lori Smith, the victor in this, what might be the worst decision since Dred Scott. I don't know. Lori Smith, who I guess, did websites or was just thinking of doing websites. And so before she started creating her customized websites for weddings and such, she drew up like a mission statement. And listen to what's in this. She said flat out that she will, I'm quoting now, will decline any request, no matter who makes it, to create content that contradicts the truths of the Bible. Well, okay, let me just stop there. The truths of the Bible, like the world was created in 7 days, those truths, just ask. The truths of the Bible, that there was a guy named Noah, and he managed to talk to God, and I told him a big rain was coming, and he had to collect two, a male and a female, of every beast and thing to secure it. I mean, yeah, those truths, I'm just asking. Anyway, Lori Smith said, she will decline any request, no matter who makes it, to create content that contradicts the truths of the Bible, demeans or disparages anyone. Not to mention that she, of course, demeans and disparages a whole bunch of people by her beliefs. Going back to her, she refuses to do any content that promotes atheism or gambling. I'm sorry, it's just like what she chose to put in there. Okay, atheism, gambling, anything that endorses the taking of unborn life, that incites violence or promotes a concept of marriage that is not solely the union of one man and one woman. There it is. And the thing is, no gay couple came to her asking her, I mean, I know you know this, but this blows my mind. No gay couple came and asked her. They didn't exist. So somehow, somewhere, she got a name. The guy has since been found. He's a happily married heterosexual somewhere who never asked anybody to do a website. It's his name that was on the original case that ended up in front of this Supreme Court that took this tainted case filled with lies and misrepresentation and then used it to allow, to carve out of our understanding that if you have a public business, you gotta serve anybody. And this court decided to say, oh, unless, of course, it's a gay person and you're offended by their existence. It's Carly Pierce, a writer I really like, said, oh, that's where I got the Dred Scott idea. So we have a woman, he says, claiming that she's got a First Amendment right. Yes, and the Supreme Court has agreed with her. We have a woman claiming that she has a First Amendment right to refuse services she doesn't even provide because she really doesn't even have a website up yet, a business up yet. She has the right to refuse services she does not provide to a couple that does not exist. And Charlie Pierce said, this is the Dred Scott of absurdity. And yet this so-called Supreme Court used this to roll us back. That's all they've been doing, rolling us back to the good old days when bigots could be bigots. With the Supreme Court's, respectful nod. I saw George Will, a column he wrote, trying somehow to make this seem okay. and he said this, believe it or not. Why would a same-sex couple choose to compel the involvement in their joyous day, their wedding, to compel the involvement of a vendor who's hostile to what they are celebrating, when there are alternative vendors offering similar services? So here's George Will trying to say that the gay couple, who, by the way, didn't exist, going to this woman for their so-called wedding, which wasn't going to happen, why would they do that if they knew she was against them? That's George Will asking. And somebody on social media, not sure where, decided to respond and say this. Yeah, why would a black family choose to compel a public school to educate their children in a school that's hostile to them, when there are alternative schools offering similar services? Yeah, George, you brilliant guy. Why would black people and those children want to go into a hostile environment? So here's George essentially going back to separate but equal, which of course was never true. Separate and unequal was what it was. So I just had to get some of that off my chest. It is just astonishing. Jonathan wants to know, would this lovely woman who supposedly does websites, would she do a website for a restaurant that sold ham or shellfish? What Jonathan is referring to is, of course, that the Bible says you shouldn't eat those things. Did you know that? Look at all you good Christians eating lobsters and ham. Huh? Well, we know that the truths that we choose to abide by are whatever we want to abide by. The rest you ignore. Oh, dear. God help us. Well, this is good. FDA has approved an over-the-counter birth control pill. No prescription needed. That's amazing. Again, that is way behind a lot of other countries, but that is good. It isn't available immediately, of course, but it will be available in next year sometime. Again, I wonder about the name. The name is Opill, Opill. I'm always wondering how they come up with these names. I don't think that's a particularly good name. What is it? What does that mean? Opill. Oh, pill. I don't know. It will be more effective. This is the most effective birth control measure that will be over the counter in this country's history. more effective than condoms, spermicides, and all that other stuff. It's certainly going to help a lot of young girls. But we don't know the price yet. So the price will be a sticking point. And knowing American pharmaceuticals, I don't know why, but I'm just going to assume that the price will be, high enough to be out of reach or difficult for the very young people who might want to access it. But what do I know? Again. All right. I'm going to be jumping around a lot today, which is like what I do on Thursdays. What I've been calling my mop-up day. While we've been mentioning the now absurdly named Supreme Court, here's a letter from Ellen Sussman, Brooklyn. So they've taken away a 40-year precedent in overturning affirmative action. Women, minorities, gays, their needs are dispensable. But not the needs of religious Christians. It is clear with this court that religious Christians are to be given more rights, even if that means that whole other groups will be denied equal service. She points out the Supreme Court, made up of unelected justices, seems to be the most powerful branch of government right now. And the justices are busy making over this country in their own conservative political image. They are completely out of touch with what the majority of American people want. And they answer to no one. It's troublesome, to say the least. It is truly troublesome. You know, this court has done and delivered on everything the conservative right-wing folks have been dying to have. It's given them everything and then some. And this is why, you want to know why even some supposedly educated people who find him repugnant vote for Donald Trump? Because they like what his Supreme Court. This jerk was the president for 4 years and managed to put, 3 justices on that court? It's unbelievable. And we'll all pay the price. I mean, if you looked at what the conservatives were hoping for, we know that they wanted to overturn Roe. Well, that's done. We know they wanted to interpret the Second Amendment to make, essentially gun ownership not only a total constitutional right, but with next to no impediments. They pretty much got that. We know they wanted to eliminate affirmative action, race-based affirmative action. They're perfectly fine with legacy affirmative action. white people knowing other white people, having had their people in these places, it just perpetuates. That kind of affirmative action, they are all behind. The conservatives also wanted to elevate religion in this country. And man, these guys have been doing a job, the Supreme Court. And what else did they always want? They wanted to rein in the regulatory powers of the federal government. And this court has eviscerated the Voting Rights Act, has eviscerated the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. I'm only talking about three of major pieces of legislation that moved us as a country forward, which they have pulled us back. So, all of it, the whole wish list, they got it. That's the Roberts court. That's Donald Trump's court. And it is astonishing what they have done. Linda Greenhouse, who's covered the Supreme Court for a gazillion years, wrote a piece, and she says this, and this is in regard to the case I was talking about, the website gay, fictional gay couple case. On the first page, it is only on the first page of Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissenting opinion, which was joined, of course, by Ketanji Brown Jackson and Elena Kagan. Interesting, 3 women. That we will comprehend clearly what happened with this case and this decision. And here's what Justice Sotomayor said. Today, the court, for the first time in its history, grants a business open to the public a constitutional right to refuse to serve members of a protected class. That's it. That's what they did. They turned everything we thought we knew was the way things were supposed to work in this country upside down. It's really something. Oh, God, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Here's some good news. This is on the front page of the New York Times today, and I mean, it's like hopeful news. Why can't I find the first part of it? It's about this, have you read about it? About the white paint? I mean, I've read about white paint before, and I've wondered why we haven't done more of it. That we know that white paint reflects back, right? So that so many of our roofs, you look around and our roofs are what color? Huh? They ain't white. No, they're black. I'm looking for this. That's the exact wrong color. That if we're intent on, saving the planet, lowering our air conditioning bills, I can't believe I can't find the front of this article. oh well, I'll just do it out of nowhere. The reality is that some scientists, God help them, at I think Purdue, have come up with the whitest paint, although to the naked eye, it doesn't appear to be any whiter than any other white paint, but it is. And this paint reflects, this is the part of the story I don't have, but I do remember the number, 98% of the light that's coming at it. So think of sunlight and think of how it's just baking your roof. And imagine if the paint on the roof could throw 98% of that light and heat back into the stratosphere. It isn't just reflecting it so it lays around, 200 feet above your house. Apparently, it's the principles of physics, which I don't comprehend, that allows thermal energy, which is what we're talking about, thermal energy to travel from the earth along, get this is just mind-blowing, along specific wavelengths. So thermal energy has these dedicated, who knew, has these dedicated wavelengths, and it can travel through what is known as the sky window, or also called the transparency, into the atmosphere and out into deep space. That's mind-blowing. And so this paint, let's say we put it on a house, that house would see an immediate decrease of its air conditioning needs by 40%. And unlike an air conditioner, the paint doesn't need any energy to do its job. It decreases the temperature of your roof by some, and this is again, this is the part I don't have, by some astonishing number, so that heat never gets into your house in the first place. And then the other, and then the heat, it's even if you touch on a hot day, if you touch this paint, it's cool to the touch, sitting in the sun. And lest you think, oh, there we are, we're going to pollute the space by throwing all this crap back into it. And they say, no big deal, no big deal. I mean, space is, the sun is already out there emitting billions more heat than anything we'd be throwing back. And all we're really doing is then reflecting the heat already generated by the sun. So it's not it's no impact there. And they're still working on it. They want to increase its durability. They want to increase its ability to resist dirt, understandably, because that would lessen its ability to reflect heat. But listen to this. If materials like this ultra white paint that Purdue scientists have come up with were to coat about 1 to 2% of the Earth's surface. Now that's a hunk of space, but 1 to 2% we cover with this stuff. And ideally that would be in heat trapping places like, you'd put it on the top of high-rise buildings in major cities. Any building over 8 feet tall, 8 stories tall would have to have this on top of it. And by doing that all over the world, you'd get to 1 to 2%. I think. And if we were to do that, the Earth would no longer absorb more heat than it was emitting, which would mean that global temperatures should stop rising. This to me is so huge, I can't believe it. Now understand, this doesn't solve the major problem. This means we could, if we were to get on this and act on this, we could at least stop this constant increase, which is creating such havoc, which we are finally starting to see. Where everyone can see. The concerns, however, are a fewfold. First of all, there is something in the paint that does have to be mined. So in the production of the paint, there is some damage. Any mining does damage. It has something called barium sulfate in it. But they point out that all paints have things that have to be mined in it, titanium dioxide and other things. So that's somewhat of a one-off. But the thing is, a lot of people are upset that people like me who got so excited reading this and what it could do would then think that the problem was fixed. And it is not fixed. They think that something like this, a mitigating initial fix, could distract us from doing what we have to do, getting at the root of what we are doing to this planet. And we know it, is we have to stop burning fossil fuels. The piece in the Times today says, but even if all fossil fuel use stopped immediately, can you imagine? Climate disasters would continue to unfold because of the massive amount of greenhouse gases that are already trapped in our atmosphere. So the paint on a large scale, 1 to 2%, you can call that radiative cooling. The paint does radiates the heat back into space. And if we were to do that, which I find so exciting, this one scientist says it is akin to a life raft for us and the planet. But it's not getting to shore. It's not getting to where we need to be. But it is. I mean, I don't know if you're going under, a life raft is a good thing. the same scientist says, this is something we can do short term to mitigate worse problems while trying to get everything under control. Well, I just think this is amazing. And I wish these scientists the best of luck, and I would hope that government is very quick to mandate that the roofs of all, and house people building houses now should at least consider incorporating, solar panels and this kind of thing. We all got to do what we can do, and I guess there's more we can do than we realize. I found this article about as uplifting and optimistic a thing as I've read all week. What happened to the other part of the damn story? Okay. That said, let me see. I don't want to end on something horrible. Let's do a quick, Here we go. Thank you. Okay, and thank you. The jury has found the Pittsburgh synagogue gunman eligible for the death penalty. Good. And I'm against the death penalty, but good. And thank you all for sending me that. Didn't take them long either, did it? Wow. We've got a caller. Hello.
Hi. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
What I was going to call about, you've talked about it before, this misinformation on the internet. And there's a couple stories that make me laugh. One is the Democrats blocked a bill that would make human trafficking legal. And then it's Newsweek, or I don't know, News something. I didn't even read on it. Then they have one that says Biden fumbles at NATO speech, and it says Fox News, and it's almost like watching a comedy thing now on the internet, because I could go through them and pick each one of them. Okay, that's Fox. It's unbelievable, and it's just crap. It's loads of crap. And if you're a moron that believes that crap, then you're full of shit. How's that? That's how I feel about it. All that crap in there. Every week or every day, there's all these stories about Biden and Biden Hunter and all that. They can't get enough of that one. That's a nothing burger, really. It just... Well,
the thing is, it's why I can't pay attention to any of it anymore.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans are a joke. They are not a serious political party. They are just about all this nonsense and performance, and they don't believe in government. They believe in power and payback and vengeance and spreading conspiracy theories and lies. I don't know.
My neighbor says to me, he says, why do they vote Republican? Why do they like Trump? I said, it's not, they like chaos. They want chaos. So whoever gets in there causes chaos, they're happy because they hate government so bad. That's what it is. It's nothing to do with who it is. They don't really like him. They just use him as he uses them. They have no opinion. They don't even care if he would cut their wages. They're just so crazy. If he would do away with unions or something, they were in the union, they're so damn dumb. They'd go along with it. As long as there's chaos because they hate the government. And you get all these people spreading all this government stuff about the FBI, CIA, and all. It's
just insane. No, I won't look at it. I won't pay attention to it. There's kangaroo court hearing with the FBI director. All of this nonsense that is, again, performative politics instead of governance. And it is outrageous. I can't waste my time with it. It's why I don't talk about much of it.
No, I kind of go through, sift through, strain through it to get to the good something that you can read that's honest stuff. I did hear something about Jordan. They're supposed to be trying to reopen that case with that wrestling thing.
Yeah.
So I hope they get him on something there.
Well, I would think if he could be gotten, he would have been gotten by now.
But
the fact, though, that it's in Ohio might be the issue.
Well, that's the problem. But yeah, it's just so much garbage on it. And even watching MSNBC, I don't know. Is a salon? Is it pro-Democrat? I can't remember. Called Salon. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
Because the only reason I say that, they're saying that this Ukraine thing is just another Vietnam, another Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever. They're saying this is all just to sell weapons. So I don't know.
No. Well, I
think you have to contain Putin.
You have to listen. If we don't take on these Russians, are you kidding me? They are a threat. Excuse me. I'm sorry. My throat is all messed up today. Anyway, I hear you. No.
Yeah.
We need to stand with Ukraine. We ain't dying over there. The Ukrainians are dying. We can't even help them.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Barbara points out, by the way, that, so Donald Trump is in office for 4 years and destroys the Supreme Court. Jimmy Carter was in office for 4 years and did not have one pick of a justice. There was not one opening for him. So it's extremely unusual for a president, a one-term president, to have that ability and understand he had the ability because Mitch McConnell prevented Obama from putting a justice on when it should have been his pick. And then McConnell allowed Trump the third justice when he was lame duck. It's unbelievable. Mitch McConnell, this is McConnell's court as well. I shouldn't call it just Trump's. It's the Federalist Society, Mitch McConnell, and Donald Trump's court. And they will have us back in, 1810 before they're done. Do you see this? It just keeps coming. I had a birthday party for Justice Thomas. And this is like a few years ago, and now it's been found out that it was paid for by a lot of lawyers who have business before the court. That's just unbelievable. Does he pay for anything himself? Anything? Does this guy have no self-respect? It's just incredible. Several lawyers who have had business before the court, including one who successfully argued the other day to end race-conscious admissions at universities, paid money to Clarence Thomas's top aide, supposedly so everyone could throw him a birthday party or a Christmas party. The Christmas party. And a lot of these lawyers had been Thomas's clerks. So I can see why they'd be invited to the Christmas party. But they aren't his clerks now. They're big attorneys arguing before. It is, and of course, no one will talk. It was The Guardian in Great Britain who broke this one. And the guy who was the chief ethics lawyer for the George W. administration, said, good Lord, there is no excuse for this. I mean, Thomas could invite him to his Christmas party and he could attend Christmas parties, but his Christmas party should not be paid for by lawyers. A federal government employee collecting money from lawyers that might appear before him? I don't see how that works. Incredible. Incredible. Unbelievable. I just, okay, I got one more and then I'll let up. This, I think, was in also in the Times today. A woman who had been an editor at the New York Times, her name is Kathleen McElroy. She left the Times and decided to run a journalism school at the University of Texas. And then she was asked, she was at the University of Texas for some time. And then she was approached by her alma mater, which was Texas A&M. And they said, would you be willing to come here and establish a degree granting journalism school here? So they had no journalism school. And she was thrilled. She said, oh my gosh, I would love to, because she has a history with that. That's her alma mater. And they celebrated her appointment last month. There was a big signing ceremony. I'm looking at a picture. She looks really happy. That lasted about a month. She got contacted by the dean. And he said, we got trouble. He said the regents and some of the alums were up in arms. And she said, what is the problem? And listen to his response. You are a Black woman who was at the New York Times. And to these folks, that's like working for Pravda. And so Texas A&M said, hey, how about this? Instead of the 5-year contract, tenured position we had given you, how about we just drop that down to 1 year and non-tenured whatever? And she said, you gotta be kidding me. And the University of Texas, he had left to accept this job at Texas A&M, told her, feel free to come right back here and continue your tenured position here. So there you go. What's amazing about this kind of thing is that Texas A&M offered her this job after a year-long search. And in the course of this search, they found an alumna with an incredible journalistic background who'd already headed a major journalism school, and yet no one knew that she was Black and worked for the New York Times. Well, they all knew, but they didn't know the yahoos that sit on their board of regents and who graduated from their school. They didn't take into consideration It's just beyond belief. I have to stop saying it, don't I? It's beyond belief. But it's beyond belief. Okay, let's end on an obit. This is a Pittsburgh-raised woman, Ellen Hovde. She died at the age of 97. Good long life, and did an awful lot of wondrous work. She was born in Meadville, but grew up in Pittsburgh and earned a degree from Carnegie. Well, it was then Carnegie Tech, right? But the degree was in theater, graduating in 1947. Then, what a life she had. Then, in 1950, she marries Aldous Huxley. Good God. Oh, no. Sorry. That's not true. Say what? Wait a minute. Something wasn't computing there. No, in 1950, she married Matthew Huxley, who happened to be the son of the author, Aldous Huxley. Okay, and then she went away, and then she got into film. And I was drawn to the obit because she edited a documentary that I had just rewatched a few weeks ago. I've been watching a lot of documentaries. Grey Gardens. Grey Gardens is just it's just amazing. It was the work of the Maisley brothers, and she worked with them behind the camera, but also as the editor. So she edited some of their work. If you're aware of their astonishing work, she edited their documentary on Bible salesmen called Salesman. That's a doozy. You got to look these up. I mean, if you haven't seen them, it's just the greatest. She edited Give Me Shelter, which was the documentary of a Rolling Stones tour, including the ultimate concert where a Hell's Angel killed somebody at the concert. So she edited that, and she edited Grey Gardens. And Grey Gardens was, of course, the looking into this mother and daughter, Edith and Edie Beale, who had been part of the rich social class on the East Coast, related to Jackie Kennedy. I suspect, cousins, Jackie Kennedy. And what's weird, and I found out from the obit, is the film came about by accident because Jackie's sister, Lee Radzawell, went to the Maisleys and Hovde and said, I think you should think about making a documentary about my childhood. Lee Radzawell wanted some attention. And she said, here are some people I think you should talk to, and you'll see how rich this thing could be. And she had given the Maisley brothers the names of Edith and Edie, Little Edie and Big Edie, as they are known. And so the Maisleys went and talked to these two, and they never left. They said, oh boy, forget Lee Radzawell. We got to do these two. And it's a story of them living in their old mansion that is literally falling apart around their ears. There are raccoons living in the house. There are rats in the house. There are a million cats in the house. These women have nothing. It is unbelievably bizarre. Roger Ebert called it one of the most haunting documentaries, although a lot of other people thought it was exploitative of these two obviously deranged women. Well, they were eccentric. They were just a little out there. And Grey Gardens was it must have won a gazillion awards. And then it also, they did an HBO movie recently on it, and a musical was based on it. So Ellen Hovde of Pittsburgh, PA, was the editor of that and a lot of other extraordinary documentaries. If you're looking for something to watch, I recommend anything she had a hand in. Okay, that's it for today. That's it for this week, for that matter. Have a good one, and I'll see you again on Monday, I believe. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.